Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is In the Moment, This Is Us. And the idea for this podcast came from a show called This Is Us, which just had its finale last week. And there was a really poignant scene in the finale with the father whose name was Jack and his two sons. And he was watching them shave for the first time. And as he was speaking to them, he said, "When you're young, you're always trying to be older. And when you get old, you're always trying to go back, trying to appreciate the moments. That's what we are doing, collecting these little moments, but we don't recognize when we're in them because we're too busy looking forward. And then we spend the rest of our lives looking back, trying to remember, trying to get back inside them." If you were watching the show or you're listening to my podcast right now, we're all very aware that we do this. But just because we're aware of it doesn't mean that we shift it. It doesn't mean that we get a hold of it and try to capture the moments while we're in them, to look forward a little less, and even to look back a little less, and make the present moment the most important, wonderful place that we're in. The little, simple moments. The dinners that we have with our children. A beautiful conversation with a friend. A sunset. Great conversation at work. Accomplishing something you worked hard on. Whatever it might be. That's life. And I think at the end of the show they were just saying that. And I think people were looking for this grand finale, this grand meaning that we could put the whole series to rest. But in the end, the show was saying that it's these moments that we have with each other. And that's what makes up a life. Life is a string of moments. It's not a marathon. It's not a race. It's not even a mountain to climb. It's a string of moments. Beautiful, gorgeous, sometimes painful, and sometimes glorious moments. And if you could be present for each one, that's how we live our best life. And yes, that encompasses our dreams and the things we do every day and the things we want for our lives and the people we meet. But we can't always be in a different place than where we are. And that's why I bring this up today, because most of us let our mind go to many places other than the place we're truly at. Yes, sometimes we all focus on a big event like a trip or we're going to a show, but we'll just drink that cup of coffee not even thinking, have that conversation with a friend so carelessly, and not even be present for a conversation with our children when we're busy thinking about something we have to do at work later. But we can change all this. It's a conscious choice. And what will change for you if you make this conscious choice? You will live more from your heart. You will slow down and you will really feel exactly what's happening in your life. And maybe some moments will be more painful, but some moments will be filled with such deep love and connection and presence. So interesting when your mind doesn't go behind and your mind doesn't go ahead. You actually end up more in the place you want to be. You create more. You achieve more goals. You achieve more dreams. So you win all around. You're capturing where you are and you're creating where you want to be all at the same time. Is it easy to do this? Not always, but it's worth trying. And how do we start to do it? The best way to start to do it is before you go to sleep at night. Think about the day you had and think about the day that you're going to have tomorrow and commit to give up all your conclusions of what it's going to be like and where it's going to go and what's going to happen. And even if you could only do it for an hour when you wake up in the morning or 2, the less you're thinking about what everything means and where it's going, you will be more present. Let things be as they are. Because the minute you're concluding it, you're thinking, oh, this is going to happen and this means this and that means that. And then you're forward thinking and you're missing where you are. And when you're really present also, you hear more. When we're jumping to conclusions, we're not even truly listening to what's happening in the moment. If you want to be open and accessible to all possibilities in your life, stay present and don't go to conclusions. Don't judge everything that's happening the moment it's happening. Sit back Listen, be present, wait. You will be so surprised what you hear. And not only will you be in the richness of life, you're going to be accessing exactly what's happening, and you will see life start to change. Your moods will start to change, your relationships will start to change, and you will have more opportunities, because we don't allow ourselves to see everything that's happening, because we're always looking forward. And you keep trying to do this practice again and again, and perhaps in the middle of the day, you'll say, okay, from 12 to 1, I'm not going to have any conclusions about anything. I'm not going to have any judgments. I'm just going to practice being in this moment, listening, being in the breath. And if you have to speak to somebody, if you have to do a project, be with that. And as your mind starts to drift, gently bring it back. Are you judging? Are you concluding? Are you stressed? Are you afraid? Gently bring it back to now. And if the stress and the fear get too big to stay present, you always have the maybe practice. Ask yourself what your fear is, what you're worried about. I'm worried I'm not going to finish this project in time. I'm stressed I'm going to lose my job. I'm worried that I work so much I'm not going to meet anybody, whatever it is. And ask yourself, are you absolutely certain that fear, that thought, that worry is true? And because you can't be absolutely certain about anything in the future, you cast doubt on that fear. And then you do maybe statements. Maybe what I'm afraid of will never happen. Maybe things will be okay. Maybe there's something for me in this moment to experience. Maybe I can come back to the moment and take a breath and see what is before me. And so what maybe does, it quiets the fears and allows you to be more present and more hopeful. Just because we're present doesn't mean we can't be hopeful. And that's what maybe is. It's hope without attachment. It allows you to come back and be where you are. And where you are is where it's at. And I know, and I get it, sometimes it's hard, especially when you're unhappy in the moment. I know sometimes my mind just wants to go back to a time before my husband left and the kids were young and we're on a family vacation. And I just want to sit there in the sun and the laughter and the thrill. But if I sit too long, I get lost in it, and then eventually I start to long for it, and then eventually the sadness takes over, because that's not where I am. And I'm missing where I am, whatever this moment will give me. And if I go too far in the future and I think about, well, what if I'm always alone, and what's going to happen with my career, and what's going to happen with my kids, and I have to take care of them, then all my energy is going that way, that I'm not available to what's in front of me. So also watch your mind. It's not just about the conclusions and the judgments. You also have a choice to bring yourself back. And so what I'll do is I'll gently kiss the past and I'll thank it and I'll move back to where I am. And then I'll use the maybe statements. If I can't get a hold of my fears and I'm thinking too much of what's going to be in any given situation, maybe always brings me back. It makes me realize I don't know what's going to happen. I have hope. I can come back to the now. You don't want to just be collecting moments without living in them. And you can do this. It's just about an awareness. And every day will have more color. Every day will have more gratitude. Every day you're going to spot things and see things you never noticed before. Sometimes you notice the way a friend laughs. And sometimes you notice how you feel when the wind is on your face. And sometimes you appreciate the person in front of you more. And often you have an idea you never thought of before. And again, I'm telling you, you will see more possibilities and opportunities. The moment is like hitting the jackpot. And if you feel that being present brings up more sadness, that'll pass. All things pass. But at least you'll be in the game of life. You'll know yourself more. You'll be aware more of your feelings. You'll be a better friend, a better parent, a better employer or an employee. You will be so in this life. And that's an authentic way to live. And then as you string each moment together, it fits just in perfectly, like you're writing a beautiful song. And you will be in the flow of life, the flow of yourself, and you'll be in the flow of your dreams and your intentions. You don't want to live a life where you're trying to get back to where you were. You want to live a life where you're trying to be exactly where you are, being aware of the beauty, being aware of every poignant moment, being hopeful, being connected, and realizing that maybe where you are is the perfect place to be. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you like this podcast, you can subscribe and leave a comment.